going on, everybody? Cowboy C3. As the team gets ready to go play the New York Jets, is like a little familiar tone to it. Um, Matt Eberflus, defensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys, played his former team and the Chicago Bears, and it didn't go well. It didn't go well at all. What is it going to be like this week as he goes to face his former quarterback from that team in Justin Fields? We'll talk about that Saturday. Tonight, we are going to talk about why is this defense so bad? Is it the scheme? Is it the players? Is it the front office? Or is it like a mixture of all three? Let's talk about it right here next. And some more things on Cowboy Spit.
Here we go! Yeah, here we go! Wait, take
Cowboy Spit.
Throws back of the end zone. There's CeeDee
Bro, I be saying these little intros and stuff, and I be tripping myself out like y'all can't read the damn lineup over there. And we see what I'm talking about like it's some kind of secret. Anyway, Cowboys C3. Cowboys go to play the Jets this week. It'll be at noon on Sunday. Got the early game. So and the matchup is becoming more and more interesting, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But in team news today, Brandon Aubrey named the special teams player of the month for obvious reasons. It's Brandon Aubrey. You know what I'm saying? Like the dude is, I call him the mechanic, man. He's a machine. It has to be a luxury to have a kicker that once you get to half field, you're in field goal range, especially in Cowboy Stadium. In indoor conditions, like the dude is automatic. But he's shown in the past that he can adjust to windy stadiums. He'll probably get that opportunity on Sunday because the Meadowlands Giant Stadium, Jet Stadium, whatever you want to call it, MetLife Field, that's what you call it, has a tendency to be kind of windy in there. So hopefully we don't need him too much. I would like for him to kick 2 or 3 field goals just for fantasy purposes, of course. But, you know, on Saturday, we'll talk about how this should be a fairly easy win, even though the injury report looks the way that it does. And in other team news, got the return of Kalen Carson and Jonathan Mingo today to practice, which is a good thing. They start their 21-day period into coming back on the active roster. That's a good thing, man, because the injury report for this team, man, is starting to grow, and it's getting kind of scary. So Tyler Book, of course, is out with the ankle injury. Tyler Guyton is out with a concussion. I said it. If you guys watched the live stream, I kept asking the guys and ladies that I was on the live play-by-play with on Sunday. I kept asking, where is Tyler Guyton? Where is Tyler Guyton? They're like, I don't know, because it never was a report, never was an injury report. Well, he suffered a concussion. He's in the concussion protocol, and it doesn't look like he's going to get to play. Malik Hooker was seen walking around in a protective boot in practice, probably not going to play. Of course, CeeDee Lamb came out of his boot and was doing some rehab work on the sideline. He won't play on Sunday. Miles Sanders, knee and ankle. He was limping around the practice field today, just on the sideline. He probably won't play. Tyler Smith with the knee didn't participate in practice. Kevontae Turpin is said to have the same sprain that Deron Bland had that kept him out of 2 weeks, so you probably won't see him either. Kalen Carson came back with the knee. He was limited in practice. Trayvon Diggs was limited in practice. Mingo just came off IR, limited in practice. Kenneth Murray was limited in practice. Deron Bland is on the injury report with his foot, but he's a full participant in practice. So the injury list is growing. Me personally, I'd rather the injury list grow now, get everybody healthy towards the end of the season when you're really going to need them. And hopefully, this is just a phase. It seems like it's all around the NFL. Tonight, the San Francisco 49ers are playing. They play the Rams tonight, and they were a 1-point underdog. And all of a sudden, they turned into an 8-point underdog. And I was like, why would they turn to a 7-point swing in a matter of 2 or 3 days? It's because nobody's playing. They're all hurt. And they is for the last few years, it seems like a lot of 49ers get hurt. But anyway, um, Cowboys injury list is growing. Hopefully, we can get these guys healthy, man. Get them back towards the mid season. Get the bye week, and then after the bye week, man, the gauntlet starts, and it's going to be real tough. It's going to be real tough. It doesn't matter who you play if this defense doesn't straighten up. It is a weird phenomenon going on with the Cowboys right now. The Cowboys have the number one offense in the league, averaging 404.3 yards per carry. Excuse me, per game. I'm sorry, per carry. That's a big ass field per game. The Dallas Cowboys have the 32nd ranked defense in the NFL, and they give up 420.5 yards per game. That is why your record is 1-2-1. Now, the first game of the season, game that you should have beat the Eagles. You should have beat them. You had some drop passes. Defense played pretty well in that game. Eagles came out, and the Eagles have kind of had a bland offense all season long, but they've been very opportunistic, and they've won all of their games, and they've won their games off opportunities. They've taken advantage of the opportunities that have been given to them. Like last week against Tampa, it was a tale of two halves with the Eagles. The first half, I watched the first half, and I was like, it was 20-6 at halftime. And I was like, man, like this team is really that good. Again, I said, man, it's kind of scary. You know what I mean? Like the Eagles just to be constantly just not rebuilding, but reloading. They just keep getting better and better. In the second half, Jalen Hurts had 0 yards passing. And I don't think I've ever heard of that other than like a Pop Warner game or something. Like no yards passing. That is incredible. And they play solid defense, though, and it keeps them in football games. And the Cowboys this year are the polar opposite. And for the life of me, especially in the second game of the season against the Giants, I kept trying to figure out why they keep getting beat deep like this. And it was the simple fact that they kept lining up in a cover 3. And I remember back in 2020 when Dan Quinn came to the team and they drafted Trayvon Diggs. The very, very first game they played in, I think Diggs got manhandled. And then second game they played, I believe they played the Seattle Seahawks. And DK Metcalf was tearing Trayvon Diggs' ass up. And there was one play where he caught a deep pass and Diggs ran behind him and knocked the ball out of the back of the end zone. And everybody praised him for the play. But the fact of the matter was that he gave up a 60-yard pass. And it looks eerily similar it looks eerily similar to what it does right now, the way the defense is playing right now, the way they're just getting beat off the ball. And during the broadcast on Sunday, when we were doing the play-by-play, I kept telling everybody that the Cowboy defense is beat at hut. You beat it hut. As soon as the ball is snapped, they're beat. Why? Why is that? Made Caleb Williams in the third game look like, I don't know, made him look like a prime Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Patrick Mahomes in a just Super Bowl winning Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's exactly what he looked like. And I was like, Caleb Williams hadn't had this much success in the game, maybe ever in his NFL career. Why this week? And once again, they were in zone coverage. Dan Quinn, when he got here, he was ranked the number one defensive coordinator that put his defense in cover 3 in the NFL. He learned very quick that his DB sucked at cover 3. They sucked at zone coverage. And he came out of it. And then he became, from that point on, he became the defensive coordinator that put his team in man coverage the most in the NFL. Why? Because the Cowboy corners were good at it. Those are the players that they had on the roster. And a lot of those players, are still around. And there was something happened in the locker room this week where, if you paid attention at the beginning of the game, Sunday, Trayvon Diggs was not on the field. It was Kyer Elam and Deron Bland. Trayvon Diggs wasn't there. And reports came out earlier this week that he got benched. And reporter asked him why he got benched, and this was his response.
How do you take last week and not starting a first couple of series?
Yeah.
What was that about in your mind?
A rough week. I guess coach holding me accountable, and I accept it. It's cool. But back on track this week. Ready to work.
So you like in practice?
Yeah, sure.
Rough week. You will be starting this week.
Yeah.
So if you guys saw the interview, wherever you look at your interviews at, you can look at DallasCowboys.com, wherever. You see the interview, he kind of got a smirk on his face. And he said that the coaches were holding him accountable for his actions. And it came out more that it was a behavioral thing. He got in a little bit of trouble at practice. And I wondered why he would get in trouble for that. Like, why he would get in trouble where they would be like, okay, you're not going to start. And as you start to kind of listen to the rest of that interview, he kind of starts to open up maybe a little bit more than he probably should, seeing that he's kind of on the hot seat anyway. He got fined $750,000 for not showing up for off-season camp, for off-season rehabilitation. And he's not on the owner's most liked list for sure, right? And there's a lot of people that think that this might be his last season, especially the way that the defense is going, particularly the secondary. Front four is playing pretty decent. Your defensive tackles are playing very good football. Your defensive ends, you started to see in the last game, they started to get home. Linebackers, you still have probably your best linebacker. He's still on the side. He's still on the sideline rehabilitating, and he's on injured reserve with Damarian Overshown. Maris Lufau plays exceptionally good football, but he has a tendency to get out of control, as you saw in the last drive to send the game into overtime when he got the 15-yard penalty that, essentially put him past midfield and into field goal range. Kenneth Murray has played pretty good. Sanborn is a Matt Eberflus linebacker. He brought him with him from Chicago, had a bunch of tackles. Excuse me. Dang, I'm choking. Had a bunch of tackles last year. He's a decent middle linebacker. Overshown will fit in that defense. He'll fit in that defense well, and he'll run around and make plays. And that'll be your guy that'll go sideline to sideline. The secondary seems to be where the issues are. And you start to ask the question, like, okay, what do we do? We got a bunch of washed up corners. Like, what's going on? If you watch Diggs play, trailing, because he's been trailing a lot. And I've been super critical, hypercritical of him in the last couple of, especially in the last two games. But I'm like, Trayvon Diggs don't get beat that deep unless it's a double move. And I don't know if you guys remember early in his career, man, the double move will get him. Because he's so aggressive going after the football. But he's not even close to the football these days. And I'm like, but then I saw Deron Bland. It was the same thing. Kyer Elam as another guy, another corner that he actually played 62 snaps the other night, Sunday night, which was the most of any corner played Sunday night. I'm like, these dudes are getting beat right off the ball. Why? And if you look at it, if you start to kind of dissect it, it's the scheme, 100%. You can blame the players second because they're the ones that are out on the field. And Trayvon Diggs later on that interview got asked about the defense, particularly the secondary struggles, and why they've struggled so much early in the season. And this is what he had to say about it.
Surprising was your pass record, you and Deron.
Yeah, it is surprising, but I feel like, we're gonna make those plays. Like, it ain't like we can't catch. It ain't like we can't. It's not like we don't have our talent that we can do. We just got to be in position to do it. And I feel like once we get in position to do it, the play is gonna be made. But it's just all about being in position to make the plays. So that comes with executing the calls, being where you need to be.
We'd like to see a little bit more man.
Yeah.
You want some more, man.
Yeah.
Because you're historically been a man guy.
Yeah.
How comfortable you're doing the zone? Is it not getting more comfortable?
Yeah, being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
Right.
One of those type things. Yeah.
We talked about positioning. Is that because there's been a lot of guys in that lineup adjusting to new DC, or what is the positioning?
I feel like just getting accustomed, to the system and where the routes are going to be, where the routes are going to end up, putting yourself in position to make plays. I wouldn't say it's more complex, but when you play man, you're right there with the person. You literally right there. He go over the field, you go over the field too. And then you covering the area, so you have to cover area and be in position to make the play. So I feel like it just comes with repetition, getting the feel for it. I feel like, as the week's been coming, it's been getting way easier. And I feel like, we're on our way to getting the ball and being on our way to making plays. Yeah.
Underneath the line. What can you take away from that as far as building going into the
Yeah, that's a good start, as far as not giving up a lot of, big plays and explosives and stuff like that. That's definitely a great start. We just got to keep it going. It's going to work out. We got all the talent in the world. These same guys that I've been with since I've been here, and it's not like nothing changed with us. It's the same thing, we just gotta be ready and get the ball.
So I've said it since week 2. It got reiterated in week 3, and then it got reiterated again in week 4 that the Cowboys secondary is full of man players. And Trayvon Diggs, you heard him on the interview, say that he'd rather be a man. And I almost promise you that they had a conversation after the Bears game that on the practice field where he was probably voicing his opinion about being in man coverage, vice being in zone coverage. You can tell by the interview that he is struggling, and a lot of the secondary members are struggling with covering an area and then being in position to make plays. It's a difficult thing if you're not accustomed to it. And the Cowboys have a lot of players on the team, particularly their corners, that are predominantly man players. Trayvon Diggs, University of Alabama. Kyer Elam, University of Florida. Deron Bland, Fresno State, where they probably ran a little bit more zone than the other 2 schools, but the other 2 schools are big-time SEC schools, and they play cover, they play man coverage. That's what they do. And Dan Quinn learned that lesson early. He said, okay, this is not working. What it sounds like to me, and this is just my own personal opinion, is that Matt Eberflus is not giving up his scheme. Which means to me that this right here will continue to be status quo until you learn your lesson, right? And Matt Eberflus in Chicago, it didn't work. And he ended up in Dallas as a defensive coordinator. And it's not working here. And I know it's early in the season and the players have to become accustomed to playing zones, but to what extent will you go in order to just play your scheme or just to play your scheme? Will you put your job on the line to play your scheme? I wouldn't. If something is going wrong with my philosophy or my idea, then I'm open to suggestion. It is clear, and the suggestion would be film study going back last year before last, particularly the year before last when the secondary was pretty good. before Diggs' injury. They were a man coverage team, and they were pretty good at it. Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson. Donovan Wilson is 100% a box safety. That's the position that he plays. That's the position that he plays the best. He does not play the deep third very well. It's just not him. So why would you put him back there? You have Malik Hooker playing, scraping around towards the line of scrimmage, closer to the line of scrimmage, in like the middle zone where your linebacker is kind of helping out too. But I've seen Sanborn, just like on the last play right before the field goal to tie the game, Sanborn didn't turn around and the ball hit him right in the back because he's not a cover guy. You understand what I'm saying? If you're playing man-to-man defense, there's a guy that's running with the tight end and a guy that's accustomed to playing in coverage, and he'll turn around and catch the ball, and maybe the game ends. Or maybe the clock operator from Dallas should have let the clock go to 0, and then the Cowboys would have won the game. But instead, he stopped it at 1 second. But that's a totally different story. So until the Cowboys, particularly your defensive coordinator, they come out of this awful zone that they're playing because it's just not working. There's no way that your offense is averaging 403 yards a game and your record is 1-2-1 because your defense is giving up 421 yards a game. That is insane. It is nothing but what the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow did last year. It's the same exact thing. Dak Prescott is playing at an extremely high level right now. Why? Because his defense sucks, and he has to. That's the only reason that's not the only reason. Dak has always been a very good quarterback. And there are a lot of people that are hypercritical of Dak Prescott. And a lot of times I ask why? Why? And it's like the media, it's like influence media. Dak sucks, Dak this, Dak that. It's all Dak's fault. It's all Dak's fault. Well, this is what the Landry had to say about Dak Prescott.
Discourse around Dak Prescott as a top quarterback in this league has always been centered around him playing for the Dallas Cowboys. But for once, it feels like the conversation is actually revolving around his talent, because Dak should be in your early MVP favorites with the way that he's been playing, the throws that he's making, and he's doing all of it without some of his best weapons. Against the Packers, he had no all-pro wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb, no Tyler Booker, no Cooper Beebe, and it was no problem for Dak. He was 9 of 10 on throws under pressure for 134 yards and 1 touchdown. He generated his 4th most EPA at plus 22.5 and his 2nd most win probability added at plus 122.8% in a game in his career. He's playing like an MVP and people are finally recognizing it. It just stinks that his defense can't get a single stop.
Dak has to play the way that he's been playing. He has to. Until the defense changes their philosophy, in order to stay in football games, Dak Prescott absolutely 100% has to play this type of football, or else the Cowboys are going to get blown out. I added in the description of this video, it said coaches would scheme or players or the front office, and or a mixture of the three. And the front office hasn't come up in this discussion yet, but the front office will come up right now. I blame the front office 120% for what's going on with this Cowboy defense, because they're the ones that hired Matt for Eberflus. The hire was made. Chicago wasn't good. Why would you hire somebody that's not good? Chicago's defense was mid of the line defense. A lot of people would argue that the reason that their defense was middle of the pack is because their offense was so bad. They were on the field for so long. I mean, yeah, I'll give you that. But their defensive philosophy wasn't that great. You go back and look at their philosophy, it just wasn't that good. You hired this dude. Now you got to live with it. But it can change. And you heard from the interview with Trayvon Diggs that absolutely you need to shift over to a zone defense. And we'll see how it goes going forward. You got a scary matchup coming up against the Jets, and we'll talk more about that Saturday. you're going to be missing some players. You're going to be missing some vital players. And you play a team that is desperate for a win. They're kind of the laughing stock of the NFL right now. And they have the biggest Cowboy kryptonite, not for Matt Eberflus, but I'm talking about for the last 10 to 15 years. They have an extra mobile quarterback, and the Cowboys have struggled with that for a long time. So we'll see how that goes, but we'll break that down on Saturday. But your quarterback is playing phenomenally. Why is that? Well, the offensive line has done a pretty good job, particularly in the run game. That takes some of the stress off of Dak Prescott. Javonte Williams is taking a lot of stress off of Dak Prescott. George Pickens stepping up and playing the number one receiver role in the absence of CeeDee Lamb is taking a lot of pressure off of Dak Prescott. Jake Ferguson being open as a safety blanket is taking a lot of pressure off of Dak Prescott. Interested to see now where from the beginning, from when the dude was drafted, and I've talked about it probably on 3 or 4 podcasts this season, I'm very interested to see how the Cowboys use Jaden Blue. Miles Sanders is going to be out. He's in a protective boot. He's walking around very gingerly. He's going to be out for a couple of weeks. Will the team, you almost have to put Jaden Blue into the mix now. Jaden Blue provides you something that you don't have. You have the perfect Thunder and Lightning matchup now. Jaden Blue offers you 4.2 40 speed. He offers you a back out of the backfield that catches the ball like a wide receiver. I believe that he'll remind you a lot of Tony Pollard once he gets an opportunity to play. And I believe that somebody like that will take a lot of pressure off of your quarterback as well. Now, the offensive line has the possibility of being down 80% because you're talking about Tyler Guyton with a concussion, Tyler Smith with a knee, Cooper Beebe on IR, Tyler Booker on IR. The only healthy offensive lineman that you have right now is Terrence Steele. That's it. You're going to have to find a way to take the pressure off your quarterback. And as we'll talk about more on Saturday, that the Jets defensive line is not bad at all. They really have a pretty decent defense, just to be honest about it. It's just their offense hasn't been very good. And one thing they do well is they run the football. Still got an all-world wide receiver, probably a top 5 talent in the NFL and Garrett Wilson, and if Justin Fields ever decides that he's going to throw the ball like he did at Ohio State, the NFL could be in trouble, but he just hasn't realized that yet. So it's a dangerous game. I believe it's a dangerous game coming up on Sunday, but and the team right now is on Dak Prescott's shoulders, and he seems to be carrying the team pretty well. We'll see. We'll see, because there are a lot of people that are rooting for Dak Prescott to win the MVP. And there are a lot of people, particularly Cowboy fans, that are just waiting for him to mess up so they can say, see, Dak sucks. So this is what the Draft Network had to say about the quarterback right now.
Prescott should definitely be in the MVP conversation is because you're talking about a guy that's putting the entire team on his back. So not only do they not have a defense and a dysfunctional owner, they don't have their starting wide receiver right now. Everybody walked into Sunday Night Football and said the Dallas Cowboys are going to get blown out. The only reason why they didn't get blown out was because Dak Prescott kept delivering, and he was trying new guys, right? Devontae Turpin, Jalen Tolbert has been a disappointment up until this point, but probably had the biggest catch of his entire career. CeeDee Lamb is out. Okay, cool. George Pickens step up as wide receiver 1 and make some plays. And Dak Prescott, in my opinion, he's always done in his career. And I think hopefully, I'm a Dak Prescott guy, that people are starting to finally see what the true situation is. The Dallas Cowboys are a dysfunctional franchise. It's pretty. It looks good. It's popular, but it's dysfunctional as hell.
I've been saying the same shit for like 8 years. Dak is going to catch hate. It comes with the star. It comes with the territory. But this team has been dysfunctional for 30 years, and it's the reason that haven't won any significant games in 30 years. It is the foundation of not winning is the dysfunctionality of the franchise. He has to overcome it. That's what it boils down to. He has to overcome all of that, and he has to overcome it every time he takes the football field, particularly in the playoffs. Said it before, and I'll say it again. There's a lot of NFL coaches. There's a lot of college coaches. There's a lot of high school coaches. There's a lot of peewee coaches that are very, very, very good checker players. Very good. But when the regular season is over and you're in the top 4 or the top 8 or the top 16, and that checkerboard goes into the cupboard and that chessboard comes out, that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where you have to be on your A game. That's where it has to be. The game plan has to be close to perfect. The execution of the game plan has to be great. If the game plan is not working, how are you going to adjust to that? And that comes from the coaching staff. You have to have your players ready to play. Every single time the Cowboys play a playoff game, particularly against the San Francisco 49ers, it's like if the original game plan doesn't work, they're absolutely lost. It's because there's no adjustments. There's no plan B. There's plan A, and that's it. And if plan A don't work, there's no plan B. A team like the Philadelphia Eagles, and you don't know how much it hurts for me to say that. The Philadelphia Eagles, the Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Bills, maybe, Baltimore Ravens, not this year, but in the recent past. The Rams, Los Angeles Rams. These are teams that come in with a game plan. They prepare their team in the offseason with free agent acquisitions, with key signings of players, signing players early so you don't get in these big contract negotiation disputes, or you have to trade your star player, 2 weeks before the season starts. Those teams don't do that. It's a super professional organization. It's run the right way. They've got coaches in place that are going to put these players in the right place, and game plans that are going to put these players in the place to be successful. And the Dallas Cowboys don't have that. They haven't had it in a very long time. So your quarterback is playing at a high level? Yes. Am I ready to crown him the MVP right now? Hell no. He's got a hamstring that's put together by some damn rubber bands and some screws. Ain't no telling us what's going to happen to Dak Prescott before week 17. And he's got a defense that can't stop a baby's nose from running. It can't do it. Till all the other stuff gets in the line, Dak Prescott can throw for 5,800 yards, 58 touchdowns, and 3 picks that he's got now, and 2 of those picks have bounced off wide receivers' hands. It'll be a great regular season. But until we get the rest of it right, you can just look for great regular seasons or great stats during the regular season. But anyway, I'm off my soapbox. Next, we'll do a show on Saturday. We'll break down the Jets and the Cowboys and how the Cowboys should walk out of this game with a victory. These next 2 weeks, they should definitely get 2 victories and kind of try to turn this season around before you have to go to Washington and face a team that's got your old defensive coordinator as the head coach and a really good quarterback. And, they're playing pretty good football right now. They ain't bad, especially with Jaden Daniels being hurt. They play pretty well still. But first things first, we'll talk about the Jets. Sunday, we'll do the Blitz Sunday morning. We'll go live right after the game on Sunday. That play-by-play is kind of tough, man. I realized that was the first time I've ever done it. It's kind of tough. It was a lot of fun, but I think it would have been better if we would have done it the first one like during the day. Because, to be honest with you, man, it was 11:30 at night, especially the game went in overtime. I was tired. But anyway, I will see you guys Saturday. We'll talk about Cowboy keys to victory, what the Cowboys need to do to beat the Jets. And then Sunday after the game, we'll talk about this Cowboy victory. And then, hey, got to get ready for the Panthers. Got to go back to the East Coast, play the Panthers on the road. So, anyway. Saturday evening-ish. We'll probably do it right between the last college game, the last college game, midday game, right before the primetime game. So somewhere about 5 or 6 o'clock. We'll talk about the Cowboy keys to victory and then, give everybody their evening to watch. I don't even know who the game of the week is this week for college football, but I'll be watching. Anyway, Cowboy C3, thank you guys for joining in. If you please do, if you haven't done it yet, please like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Follows are moving up. I appreciate it all. Got told I need to advertise more, but I just like talking to you guys. But anyway, Cowboys C3, man. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.